The text came on a Tuesday morning, the 3rd of May 2022, 9:47 a.m. I was sitting in my campus apartment reviewing my dissertation one final time before my PhD defense the next day. 8 years of research on renewable energy applications in developing nations. 8 years of late nights, failed experiments, breakthroughs, setbacks, and finally success. My phone buzzed. I smiled thinking she was texting to wish me luck on my defense. Maybe to confirm their flight details for my graduation ceremony on Saturday. Instead, I read, "Sarah, your father and I have decided not to attend your graduation. We need to be honest. We think you've wasted 8 years on something impractical. Your brother's MBA graduation is in 2 years, and that actually matters for his career. We're saving our time and money for that. Hope you understand." I stared at the screen for a full minute, then another text. "Also, we told everyone you're finally finishing school. They all asked what took so long. It's embarrassing explaining you're still a student at 30. I set the phone down carefully. My hands were shaking. 8 years. I'd spent 8 years pursuing this degree while working as a research assistant, scraping by on a stipend that barely covered rent. 8 years of telling my family about my research, my publications, my progress. They'd never asked a single question about my actual work. My younger brother, Derek, had graduated from undergrad 2 years ago and immediately started working at a consulting firm. He was now enrolled in a prestigious executive MBA program, 2 years part-time while working full-time. My parents talked about him constantly. Derek's MBA will set him up for life. Derek's company is paying for his degree. Derek will be making 6 figures by 30. Meanwhile, I was the embarrassment, the one who kept going to school instead of getting a real job. I called my mom. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hi honey. Did you get my text?" "Mom, my graduation is in 4 days. You're really not coming?" "Sarah, we explained this. Your father has a golf tournament that weekend. And honestly, we've been to your undergrad graduation. How many graduations does one person need? This is my PhD, Mom. It's different. It's another degree that won't help you get a job." She interrupted. "Sweetheart, we love you. But we're worried. You're 30 years old with no career, no savings, no real prospects. Derek is buying a condo. What are you doing?" "I'm about to defend my dissertation. I'm about to become Dr. Sarah Mitchell." "And then what?" she asked. "Who's going to hire you? What are you going to do with a PhD in? What is it again?" "Environmental engineering with a focus on renewable energy systems." "Right. And how many jobs are there in that?" I closed my eyes. "Mom, I have a job lined up. I told you about it. That postdoc position." "Sarah, that's not a real job. That's more school. It's a research position at Stanford. It pays $68,000 a year. Derek makes $95,000 plus bonuses," she said. "And he's only been working for 2 years. There was everything always came back to Derek." "I have to go," I said. "My defense is tomorrow. Good luck, honey. We do love you. We just want you to be practical." She hung up. I sat there in my empty apartment staring at my dissertation, Scalable Solar Microgrids for Rural Electrification in Sub-Saharan Africa. 347 pages. 4 years of field research. Published findings in 3 major journals. Useless, according to my mother. My defense the next day went perfectly. My committee praised my work. Dr. Jennifer Hartley, my advisor, told me it was one of the best dissertations she'd seen in 20 years. "You should be proud," she said. "This research is going to change lives, Sarah." "Thank you," I said, trying to smile. He studied my face. "Your family isn't coming to graduation, are they?" I shook my head. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "For what it's worth, I'll be there. And I'm proud of you." Saturday arrived. The 7th of May 2022. Graduation day. I put on my doctoral robes alone in my apartment. The heavy black gown, the velvet tam, the blue and gold hood representing my field. I looked at myself in the mirror. Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd done it. The ceremony was at 2 p.m. at the university's main arena. Hundreds of graduates, thousands of family members filling the seats. I sat in the doctoral candidate section, about 40 of us total. Around me, I heard excited chatter. People pointing out their families in the crowd. Parents waving. Siblings holding signs. I looked up at the sea of faces and saw no one I knew. Dr. Hartley was sitting with the faculty, but that was it. When they called my name, Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, Doctor of Philosophy in Environmental Engineering, I walked across that stage to polite applause from strangers. No one screamed my name. No one stood up. No one took photos. I shook the dean's hand, received my diploma, and walked off the other side. That was it. 8 years summed up in 15 seconds. After the ceremony, I stood outside the arena watching families celebrate. Flowers, balloons, tears of joy, parents hugging their graduates, telling them how proud they were. I got in my 1-2-year-old Honda Civic and drove back to my apartment. That night, I ate takeout Chinese food alone and updated my LinkedIn profile. Sarah Mitchell, PhD. My mom texted at 8:30 p.m. Did it go okay? Not congratulations. Not we're proud of you. Just did it go okay? I typed back, yes. She replied, good. Talk soon. That was it. Over the next 2 weeks, I packed up my apartment and moved to Palo Alto for my postdoc position at Stanford. Dr. Hartley had connected me with Dr. Robert Chen, who was running a groundbreaking lab focused on affordable renewable energy for developing nations. The work was exactly what I wanted: meaningful, innovative, challenging. I was developing solar microgrid systems that could be manufactured and installed cheaply in areas without reliable electricity. My parents called once during those first 3 months to tell me Derek had gotten promoted to senior consultant. He's really going places, my dad said. Making smart career moves. That's great, I said. How's your research thing going? It's going well. We just got approved for field testing in Kenya. Kenya? My mom's voice was skeptical. Why Kenya? Because 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa don't have access to reliable electricity. My microgrids could change that. Silence. Then my dad. Well, that's nice, honey. Very noble. Derek's company just signed a contract with a Fortune 500 company. Big commission for him. I stopped telling them about my work after that. 6 months into my postdoc, something unexpected happened. I'd been collaborating with a small startup called Solar Reach that was trying to commercialize renewable energy solutions for developing markets. They'd been struggling. Great technology, terrible business model. The CEO, Michael Torres, called me in November. Sarah, we're going under. We've got maybe 2 months of runway left. But your microgrid design, it's revolutionary. If we could figure out how to scale it to make it profitable. I'm a researcher, not a business person. I said. You know what I mean. Just keep it professional. Don't make it about family stuff. Derek, do you actually know what I do at the museum? You work there. Museum stuff. Look, I got to go. Just don't make things weird, okay? He hung up. I sat there for a long moment, then pulled up the museum's website. My bio was prominently featured on the leadership page. Dr. Typropet, Sarah Mitchell, Executive Director PhD, Cultural Anthropology, Yale University former Deputy Director, Metropolitan Museum of Art Board Member, International Council of Museums Author, Cultural Preservation in the 21st Century, 2019 recipient, National Medal of Arts. There was a professional photograph of me at my desk, the museum's soaring atrium visible through the window behind me. Contact information, a detailed CV. Derek had never looked. Not once in 4 years. January 13th arrived cold and bright. I dressed carefully that morning. A tailored charcoal suit, minimal jewelry, my hair pulled back in a professional bun. I looked exactly like what I was. A senior executive in one of the world's most important cultural institutions. At 9:45 a.m., Jennifer briefed me. Congresswoman Chen's motorcade just arrived. Security is escorting her up. Her chief of staff, 2 aides, and a press liaison. Press. They want photos of her with the international flags in the main hall. Good optics for her arts and culture subcommittee work. Of course. This was as much about her political profile as genuine interest in museums. At 9:58 a.m., my desk phone rang. Security. Dr. Essit. Mitchell, Congresswoman Chen's party is in the main lobby, ready for you. I'll be right down. I took the elevator to the ground floor. The museum wasn't open to the public yet. We had an hour before the doors opened. The vast main hall was empty except for the security detail, Rebecca Chen, and her staff. Rebecca looked polished and professional in a navy dress and blazer. She was speaking with her press liaison, gesturing toward the soaring architecture, clearly planning her photo angles. I approached quietly. Her chief of staff, a sharp-eyed man in his 40s, noticed me first. "Dr. Mitchell," he said, extending his hand. "Tom Bradford, Congresswoman Chen's chief of staff. Thank you for accommodating this tour." "Of course." I shook his hand, then turned to Rebecca. "Congresswoman Chen, welcome to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Executive Director." Rebecca turned her political smile in place. "Dr. Mitchell, thank you so much for." She stopped. Her smile froze. Her eyes widened slightly. "Mitchell," she said. "Sarah Mitchell?" "Yes." "As in Derek's sister?" "Sarah Mitchell?" "Yes." The silence that followed was profound. Tom Bradford looked confused. The aides exchanged glances. The press liaison kept her camera ready, uncertain whether to photograph this moment. I didn't realize. Rebecca's professional composure was cracking at the edges. "Derek said you worked at a museum. He didn't mention that I run it?" I finished gently. "No, he wouldn't have mentioned that. He doesn't actually know what I do here." Rebecca's face cycled through several expressions. Embarrassment, confusion, realization. "The executive director. You're the executive director of the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. One of 19 Smithsonian museums, yes. This is my primary responsibility." Tom Bradford, to his credit, recovered quickly. "Congresswoman, shall we begin the tour? Dr. Mitchell has generously set aside 2 hours for us." "Yes," Rebecca said, but she was still staring at me. "Yes, of course." I led them through the museum, starting with the main exhibitions. I explained our mission, research, education, preservation of 145 million specimens and artifacts representing the natural and cultural history of our world. I showed them our research facilities, where hundreds of scientists conducted groundbreaking work in biology, geology, anthropology, and paleontology. Rebecca asked intelligent questions. She was clearly well briefed on cultural policy issues, and despite her evident discomfort, she engaged professionally with the material. In the ocean hall, standing beneath the model of the North Atlantic right whale, I explained our role in climate change research and public education. "We're not just a museum," I said. "We're a research institution. Our scientists publish over 600 peer-reviewed papers annually. We advise Congress on environmental policy, cultural preservation, and scientific research funding." "Congress," Rebecca repeated. "You advise Congress?" "Yes. I've testified before the House Appropriations Committee 3 times in the past 2 years. Most recently on the importance of funding for cultural diplomacy programs." Tom Bradford made a note on his tablet. "The Congresswoman chairs the subcommittee on arts and culture. I'm surprised your testimony didn't cross our desk." "It may have," I said. "I testified as Dr. Mitchell, Executive Director, not as Derek's sister." Rebecca flinched. We continued to the anthropology collections. I showed them artifacts from every continent, explained our repatriation programs for indigenous cultural objects, discussed the ethical complexities of museum collections built during colonial periods. "These are conversations the museum world is grappling with globally," I said, "which is why the International Museum Directors Summit is so important. We need to coordinate our approaches to decolonization, climate change, digital access, and cultural preservation." "The summit," Rebecca said. "That's tomorrow night." "Yes. The opening reception is at the National Gallery, but we're hosting several working sessions here over the following 3 days, 50 directors from 32 countries. And you're coordinating this?" "I'm the host director, yes. I'll be giving opening remarks and moderating 2 of the panel discussions." We walked through the Butterfly Pavilion, the Hall of Fossils, the Human Origins exhibit. With each stop, I explained not just what visitors saw, but the research behind it, the educational programming, the community outreach, the digital initiatives that brought our collections to millions of people worldwide. By the time we reached my office suite on the 3rd floor, Rebecca looked shell-shocked. "Would you like to see where the administrative work happens?" I asked. She nodded mutely. My office overlooked the National Mall. The walls were lined with books, anthropology texts, museum studies journals, cultural policy papers. My desk held neat stacks of reports, a framed photo of me receiving the National Medal of Arts from the President, and a small fossil ammonite my mentor had given me when I finished my PhD. "This is where you work," Rebecca said, more to herself than to me. Yes, though I spend as much time in meetings, at donor events, testifying on the Hill, or visiting our research stations around the world. Tom Bradford was taking notes more frantically now. Congresswoman, this would be an excellent partnership opportunity. Dr. Mitchell's work aligns perfectly with your subcommittee priorities. Yes, Rebecca said faintly. I can see that. Jennifer knocked and entered. Dr. Mitchell, the secretary's office called. They need your input on the French delegation's request. Tell them I'll call back in 20 minutes. Also, the director of the Louvre would like to schedule a pre-summit call with you this afternoon if possible. Dr. Mitchell has been named to Forbes 30 Under 30 list, received the UN Sustainable Development Innovation Award, and has published groundbreaking research in renewable energy applications. She represents the very best of what a Stanford education can achieve using business as a force for positive change in the world. My heart was pounding. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I walked onto that stage into blinding applause. The screen showed my face, my name, my credentials. I walked to the podium looking out at 427 graduates and thousands of family members. And there in section 114, row 22, I saw them, my mother standing up to applaud, frozen mid-clap, her mouth open, her face white. My father beside her, gripping the armrest of his seat, staring. Derek in the graduate section on his feet with everyone else, his face a mixture of shock and something else. Pride, maybe. My mother grabbed my father's arm, exactly like in my imagination. Her knuckles were white. I smiled and began my speech. Thank you, Dean Morrison, for that incredibly generous introduction. And congratulations to the MBA class of 2026. You've worked incredibly hard to be here today, and you should be proud. My voice was steady, strong, nothing like the uncertain grad student who'd walked alone across the stage 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I stood on a different Stanford stage receiving my PhD. It was the culmination of 8 years of research, thousands of hours of work, and more failed experiments than I can count. I paused, looking directly at section 114. My parents didn't come to that graduation. They told me my PhD was impractical, a waste of time. They said my 8 years of education didn't matter because it wouldn't lead to a real career. The stadium was silent. They weren't entirely wrong. A PhD doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee wealth. It doesn't even guarantee you'll find a job in your field. I saw my mother's hand go to her mouth. But here's what my PhD did give me. It gave me the skills to solve complex problems. It taught me how to think critically, how to fail productively, how to persist when everyone says something is impossible. It gave me the foundation to build something meaningful. I clicked to my first slide. A photo of a village in Kenya lit up at night by our microgrids. This is Kibera, a village outside Nairobi. 2 years ago, this village had no electricity. Children studied by candlelight. The medical clinic couldn't refrigerate vaccines. Small businesses closed at sunset. Next slide. The same village transformed. This is Kibera today. Using technology one developed during my PhD research, we installed a solar microgrid that powers the entire village. Children can study after dark. The clinic saves lives with refrigerated medicine. Businesses thrive into the evening. Next slide. More villages. More transformed lives. Solar earthing now powers 200,000 homes. That's roughly 1 million people whose lives have fundamentally changed because of impractical academic research. I looked back at my parents. My mother was crying. My father's jaw was tight. I'm telling you this not to brag, but to make a point. Success isn't just about salary or status. It's not about picking the safe path or doing what others expect. I clicked to a slide showing our company growth. Yes, Solar Reach is valued at $420 million. Yes, we've raised over $100 million from investors. Yes, by conventional measures, we're a successful company. Next slide, back to the villages. But that's not why I do this work. I do it because a child in Tanzania can now do her homework after sunset. Because a medical clinic in rural India can save lives. Because families across 6 continents have opportunities they never had before. I paused, gathering my thoughts. Many of you graduates will go on to impressive careers, high salaries, prestigious titles, corner offices. And that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with success. I look directly at Derek now. But I challenge you to also think about impact, about purpose, about using your Stanford education, your privilege, your skills, your opportunities, to make the world genuinely better. Derek was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Because here's the truth. The work that matters most is often the work that looks impractical at first. The research that goes nowhere for years before it breaks through. The startup that nearly dies 5 times before it succeeds. The path that makes your parents worry because it's not safe or conventional. My voice softened. Some of you have families here who don't fully understand what you've accomplished. Who measure success only in dollar signs. Who compare you to siblings or friends or neighbors. I saw my mother wipe her eyes. That's okay. You don't need their approval. You need your own conviction. You need to believe that the work you're doing matters, even when no one else sees it yet. I clicked to my final slide. Our company mission statement. Power for people, purpose for profit. In closing, I want to say this. Your MBA gives you tools. What you build with those tools is up to you. You can build wealth. You can build status. You can build security. I smiled. Or you can build something that changes lives. Something that solves real problems. Something that matters in ways that can't be measured by quarterly earnings. I looked out at all 427 graduates. You're some of the most talented, educated, privileged people in the world. Don't waste that privilege on work that doesn't fulfill you. Don't spend your life chasing someone else's definition of success. Final pause. Find the problem that breaks your heart, then fix it. That's what your education is for. I stepped back from the podium. Congratulations, class of 2026. Thank you. The stadium erupted in applause. Standing ovation. Thousands of people on their feet, but I was only watching 3. My mother was sobbing into my father's shoulder. My father was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. And Derek was clapping, his face split in a huge grin, shaking his head in amazement. I walked off the stage. Dean Morrison grabbed my hands backstage. That was extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. We've never had a response like that. Thank you, I said. But I barely heard her. My mind was racing. What happened now? Did I find my family in the crowd? Did I wait for them to find me? Did I leave? The ceremony continued. Degrees were conferred. Names were called. Derek walked across the stage. Derek Michael Mitchell, Master of Business Administration. And I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Pride because he'd worked hard for this. Sadness because our parents had never seen his achievements and mine as equally valid. Anger because even now I wasn't sure they understood what they'd done. After the ceremony ended, I stood in a side hallway unsure what to do. Graduates and families poured past. Some people recognized me from my speech and stopped to shake my hand to thank me. Then I saw them. My mother pushing through the crowd, my father behind her, Derek trailing with his diploma. Sarah. My mother said, her voice breaking. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 2 hours. Sarah. Not here. I said quietly. Too many people. I led them to a private room Dean Morrison had given me access to. We stood in awkward silence. You're a CEO. My father finally said. Of a $420 million company. Co-founder and CTO. I corrected. But yes. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked. I did tell you. Multiple times. You didn't listen. You said you were doing research. You never said you started a company. I told you I left Stanford for a startup. You said it was impractical. Silence. Derek cleared his throat. That speech was incredible, Sarah. I had no idea you were doing all this. You never asked. I said, but not unkindly. That's not fair. My father protested. We always asked about your work. No. I said firmly. You asked if I had a real job yet. You asked when I was going to get serious about my career. You compared me to Derek constantly. But you never once asked what my research was actually about. You never asked what I was building. You never cared. We cared. My mother insisted, crying. We were just worried. You were embarrassed. I interrupted. You were embarrassed that I spent 8 years on a PhD instead of getting a job. You were embarrassed that I didn't have a conventional career path. You were embarrassed to tell people about me. That's not true. Mom, you didn't come to my PhD graduation. You said it was a waste of time. You said Derek's MBA mattered more. She flinched like I'd slapped her. And now I continued. Now that you know I'm successful by your standards, now that I have money and recognition and status, now I matter. You always mattered. My father said weakly. Then why wasn't I worth a single day? Derek's graduation was worth a week of your time. Mine wasn't worth a Saturday. No one spoke. Derek looked at our parents. She's right. You know she's right. Derek. My mother started. No, Mom. I've watched you treat Sarah differently my whole life. I knew it was happening. I didn't say anything. I should have. He turned to me. I'm sorry, Sarah. I should have stood up for you. That unexpected apology cracked something in my chest. It's not your fault, I said quietly. It kind of is. I benefited from it. I let it happen. My mother was fully crying now. Sarah, please. We made a terrible mistake. We were wrong. We were so wrong. About what? I asked. About me being unsuccessful? Or about how you treated me? She opened her mouth then closed it. That's what I thought, I said. You're sorry I turned out to be successful. You're sorry you were wrong about me. But are you sorry for making me feel worthless? For comparing me to Derek for my entire life? For missing the single most important achievement of my life because you decided it didn't matter? My father stepped forward. Sarah, we love you. We've always loved you. Maybe, I said. But love isn't enough when it comes with conditions. When it depends on me meeting your definition of success. What do you want from us? My mother asked desperately. I thought about that. What did I want? An apology? I'd gotten that. An explanation? There wasn't one that would satisfy me. A promise to change? Words were easy. I don't know. I admitted. I honestly don't know. We stood there 5 feet apart, an ocean of hurt between us. I have to go, I said finally. I have a dinner with Dean Morrison and some faculty. Can we talk later? My father asked. Can we try? I looked at them. My parents who'd shaped my childhood, my self-worth, my relationship with success, who taught me that achievement mattered more than character, that status mattered more than substance, who'd missed my PhD graduation and broken something in me that might never fully heal, but they were still my parents. Maybe, I said, someday, but not today. I left them there and went to my dinner. Over the following weeks, my parents tried to reconnect. Phone calls, emails, a handwritten letter from my mother that was 12 pages long. Derek and I started talking more, real conversations, not surface-level updates. He admitted that he'd always felt the pressure of being the golden child, that he'd chosen his career partly because it was what they wanted. I'm thinking about making a change. He told me 2 months after graduation. Maybe doing something more meaningful than consulting. Like what? I don't know yet. But your speech got me thinking. About impact. About purpose. That's great, Derek. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime, talk about it. We did. Once a month, then twice, slowly rebuilding a relationship that had been stunted by our parents' favoritism. As for Mom and Dad, I kept them at arm's length for a long time. The hurt was too fresh, too deep. But on Christmas, 8 months after Derek's graduation, I agreed to have dinner with them. It was awkward, painful, full of long silences and careful words, but it was a start. My mother showed me a scrapbook she'd made, articles about solar reach, my Forbes 30 under 30 profile, photos from speaking engagements. I've been following everything, she said quietly. I know I'm late. I know I missed so much, but I'm paying attention now. It wasn't enough, not nearly enough, but maybe eventually it could be something. A year after Derek's graduation, Solar Reach hit a major milestone. We'd powered our millionth home. 1 million homes, 5 million people with access to reliable electricity, who'd never had it before. Michael and I stood in our office, looking at the map showing all our installations spread across 47 countries. We did it, he said. We did, I agreed. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Saw the news about the millionth home. Sarah, I'm so incredibly proud of you. Not because of the number or the success, but because you're changing people's lives. You were right. Your PhD wasn't useless, it was the foundation for something extraordinary. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed back, thank you, Mom. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely, but it was acknowledgement, progress. That night I went home to my apartment and pulled out my PhD diploma. I'd kept it in a drawer for 4 years, too painful to display. Now I hung it on my wall. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Doctor of Philosophy and Environmental Engineering. Not useless. Never useless. The foundation for everything I'd built. everything I'd become. I thought about that lonely graduation day, sitting in the arena watching families celebrate while I sat alone, walking across the stage to silence. It had hurt so much, but it had also taught me something crucial. My worth didn't depend on anyone's approval. Not my parents, not society's, not even my own family's. My worth came from the work itself, from the problems I solved, from the lives I changed, from the villages lit up at night because of research my parents called impractical, from the children studying after sunset because of technology they said was useless, from the impact I made in the world, because I'd refused to let their judgment define me. I'd walked across that stage alone 4 years ago, but I'd walked across Stanford stage last May as Dr. Sarah Mitchell, CEO of a company changing the world. And that made all the difference.